Thank you for showing an interest in the 85 study. Within this video, you'll see a presentation about the study. It is a shorter segment pulled from our virtual public meeting, which is also available on our study website. Before the video gets started, we would like to extend an invitation for you to participate in our 85 study survey. Taking this survey gives you the opportunity to be a part of the study in addition to learning about the study in this video. It gives you the opportunity to give the study team your insights. To take the survey, you can go to the Next Steps room in our virtual meeting room. The study website is 85study.com. That's 85study.com. Thanks again. And now on to the presentation. Good morning, everyone. We know that some of this information may be new to you, so we're going to start with some high-level background for the study. If you have any questions, there will be a live Q&A after today's presentation. I'm sure it's not surprising to hear that the I-85 study corridor is one of the busiest interstates in Georgia. It is also an important corridor for freight travel. The statistics on the screen help to put it all in context. The corridor has over 300,000 vehicles traveling through the study area every day, and it continues to grow. It is an incredibly important freight corridor with more than 11% of all traffic being commercial vehicles. North of SR 316, trucks make up 16% of vehicles. When we think about commuters, an important element is travel time reliability. Commuters need to plan an extra 10 to 30 minutes of travel time to be sure they arrive at their destination on time. And nearly a third of drivers are traveling locally within the corridor. So 30% of travelers exit within 2 exits of where they entered I-85. Simply put, there is a lot going on in this corridor. There are many types of roadways, principal and minor arterials, collector distributor lanes, and state highway routes that connect and link communities to large employment centers, educational facilities, retail districts, and recreational areas within the corridor, and of course beyond. I-85 is a key conduit in the quality of life for these communities. The I-85 study area runs roughly 18 miles along I-85 from 285 to I-985. Within the corridor, there are 3 CIDs and it connects with 5 cities. The corridor contains 16 interchanges and ranges from 4 to 6 general purpose travel lanes in each direction, and 1 high occupancy toll lane in each direction. Sometimes we call these hot lanes. It also includes the programmed McGinnis Ferry Road interchange. At times, morning congestion can stretch up to 11 miles, and this congestion can contribute to crashes and other incidents along the corridor. So how does the 85 study plan to help? It aims to recommend a series of projects that will reduce congestion, enhance traffic operations, and improve safety within the roughly 18-mile corridor. At the beginning of the 85 study, project stakeholders helped to craft a vision for the I-85 corridor and agreed on goals for achieving this vision. Within this kind of planning study, a vision is a clear, inspirational, and concise definition of a future position. The vision for this study is I-85 will provide safe, reliable interstate travel for people and goods as part of a connected, efficient transportation network while creating value for surrounding communities. The stakeholders then established 6 key goals to drive the study. Each is important and no one goal outweighs another. The goals in no particular order are shown on the screen. Improve safety, improve vehicular mobility, facilitate commercial travel, evaluate multimodal options, support Georgia's economy, and support the corridor's communities. Throughout the project, the study team is using the Planning and Environmental Linkages process. Sometimes this is called PEL. And it identifies connections between the traditional planning approach and the environmental process. That environmental process is sometimes known as NEPA, which stands for National Environmental Policy Act. As you see here, it's an FHWA initiative. So what is the benefit? PEL aims to get the environmental experts involved from the very beginning, to give them the chance to not only understand what's going on from the start, but also to have the chance to provide their input and to provide consensus on decision making. During the traditional process, it's not uncommon for some decisions to be made during the planning phase. And then during the NEPA phase, they must be revisited, retested, and redone. Pell allows that consensus to be made together in the planning phase. We're also excited to note that the I-85 Pell study is the very first Pell study in Georgia. We have already begun working with FHWA. We have already included the public and stakeholders in new ways. And as you'll see on the next slide, we've already begun working together on key decision making. You can see the many benefits that stem from this approach, from time and cost savings to better use of funding. And the public can be more involved. Another key thing to understand about Pell is that it's not a separate report or a separate result that you work on. Instead, it's embedded into every part of the planning process. All right, stakeholders. Stakeholders have been an integral part of this study. This slide shows just a fraction of the many stakeholders that we've had the privilege of involving throughout the last couple of years. As you can see here, stakeholders for the study include representatives from government agencies at all levels, as well as businesses and community groups, both within, along the study corridor, and the surrounding areas. Each stakeholder group provides diverse experience, insight, and institutional knowledge into the study process. The first phase of public involvement began in November of 2019 and concluded in February of 2020. 3 primary engagement tools were used for phase 1 public engagement, and those are in-person meetings, community events, and an online survey. The activities conducted at the in-person meetings and the community events were mirrored in the online survey. In-person meetings and community events had project-related collateral translated into 4 languages: English, Spanish, Korean, and Vietnamese. These are the most widely spoken languages in Gwinnett County. Here you can see some key statistics from phase 1 public outreach. During that time, in-person meetings were conducted with over 64 attendees. Community events engaged 875 people. There were 2,551 survey respondents. Information was distributed to 1,433 email addresses, and the study used many strategies to get the word out. They included billboards, postcards, social media, blogs, newsletters, and media stories. So now, as we continue our conversation, we're going to provide an overview of our study timeline and what we have done so far. The I-85 study kicked off in Q1 of 2019. The first major event was in Q2 of 2019 with a visioning meeting. This was followed by phase 1 public outreach and then stakeholder presentations. Currently, the study is in phase 2 public outreach. The study has gone through 2 rounds of stakeholder engagement, 1 public engagement, and is within its 2nd round of public engagement now. Looking to the future, we still have more rounds of screening. Each one will go into more detail with data-driven analyses. All of this will culminate in a recommendation of a package of projects and then an implementation plan. The study uses a 3-tiered evaluation process to screen alternatives and then to develop recommended projects for future implementation. It all starts with a rigorous idea generation process, and you'll hear more about that and its results in the next slides. Each tier, alternatives are evaluated using a set of performance measures to determine whether they'll address the transportation need of the corridor, then how well they address those needs, and how well the alternatives will work together. Over 1,200 ideas were collected during that idea generation phase of the study. These ideas came from 4 sources, which you see here: previous plans and studies, public involvement and stakeholder input, hotspot and corridor strategies, and innovation team workshops. The development of the universe of idea marked the first step in a much longer screening process, which consists of 3 tiers. The process for generating ideas leaves no idea off the table, allowing the universe of ideas to be as inclusive, comprehensive, and extensive as possible. The goal of the universe of ideas is to identify alternatives for further evaluation. We're going to talk a little bit about hotspots, and within this study, hotspots are areas located throughout the corridor that significantly contribute to congestion, incident, crashes, or other notable issues. They take the results of our detailed study of the existing conditions and the expected future conditions along the corridor and summarize the findings into a high-level map. By addressing the unique challenges within each of these hotspots, the operation of the corridor will improve. The hotspots, which you'll see on the next slide, were developed based on data and identified through collaborative workshops with participants from various disciplines that include planning, environmental, traffic, and roadway design. So, to help get you oriented on this map, north is to your right. There are 13 hotspots here, and they were identified along the width of the 85 study area. They have the largest impact on operations for the I-85 corridor. Therefore, identifying improvements that target these areas will yield the greatest benefits to the corridor. The blue shapes represent northbound hotspots, and the green shapes represent the southbound hotspots. The alternatives evaluated in Tier 1 were developed through the universe of ideas. The study team initially screened the ideas for fatal flaws to ensure each one tries to address one of the study's transportation needs. So one example of a fatal flaw would be if a proposed idea were too far away from the study area and did not influence the I-85 corridor. The ideas that did pass the screening were then consolidated into Tier 1 alternatives that advanced to Tier 1 screening. Those alternatives were organized into 6 categories, which are shown here: managed lane system improvements, freeway and interchange improvements, arterial improvements, multimodal options, policy changes and smart infrastructure, and finally add-on improvements. So with that, I'd like to hand it back over to Kara to tell us a little bit about the 85 Study public meeting website. Kara?
Thanks, Jonathan. So right now we are in our second phase of analysis and screening. And that means that we will have 2 more rounds of results before we make any final recommendations or begin implementation. We'll continue to incorporate Pell and gain public input through public and stakeholder engagement. And this is where you come in. So what we'd like to do now is walk through where you can provide feedback and you can take a survey and give us your input to contribute to the study. So the first step is to go to the project website and browse the virtual meeting rooms. Here you can explore our displays and videos that we would typically share at an in-person meeting. All the information you should need can be found in each of these rooms. The best place to start is the welcome room, where you will find a welcome video, which offers a great overview of the website and tips for navigating the space. Here you can also review fact sheets and our efforts to date. Next, move over to room 2 to review the Tier 1 screening materials. And this includes the evaluation framework, screening methodology, and purpose. So once you review the background rooms, you can move on to rooms 3 through 6. Here you will see the current alternatives. Room 3 covers the managed lane categories. Room 4, the freeway and interchange categories. And make sure you click on each of the easels to view all of the information. Now move on to room 5, where you will see the arterial categories, and then room 6, which includes policy changes, as well as bicycle, pedestrian, and transit improvements. Once you have viewed all the alternatives, visit room 7. Here you can check out the next steps for the project, but most importantly, we would like for you to provide your feedback by either leaving a comment or completing the survey. The survey link will take you to the MetroQuest survey. Here you will be able to share your opinions on priority locations and the alternatives. Your input is crucial to the success of this study, and completing the survey is a quick way to make your voice heard. And once you've completed the survey, please make sure to stay connected with us. Comment, share your thoughts on our social media channels, use the hashtag 85Study, and make sure you let others know as well.